Recording in progress.
All right, welcome to the Environmental Sustainability Task Force meeting for January 4th of Scio Township. And we'll kind of go on. Does anyone want to add anything to the agenda? I will have, I'm adding a little line item about the tree policy, and Norm has some of his satellite mapping progress to show. Anybody have some other items? Yeah, Kathy.
I'm just wondering if we have any updates about, I'm concerned about the millage for bus service. And I'm just wondering if there's any information about that. Is that going to be on the ballot this fall? That kind of thing. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? There is a meeting. I'll look that up. That Joyce has scheduled to start.
Jan, it's Friday the 19th at 2 p.m.
Thank you very much, Pam.
You're welcome.
You got the calendar, yeah. And so there is a committee that's getting started on that, because I believe it is it's the last the winter taxes next year, I think, are the last funds that come from that, and that's going to be attended by AATA and WAVE, and and also someone from, I believe, SEMCOG. So, yeah, okay. All right. Any folks, communications, correspondence? We did. I just wanted to note, I was working with Joyce. We did join the My Green Communities, and we did put in for a Climate Corps member, but there were only 30 awarded across the state, and Washtenaw County got the one for this area. So they will be getting a staff person, which is great. But we didn't get anybody. With that, anyone else have any correspondence? Anything, Kathy, from your meetings or?
No. Yeah, no, I'm not muted. Okay. No, I haven't had anything since the last time we got together. So there's something coming up on the task force, the climate task force, mid-January, and I'll let you know at the next meeting.
Sounds good. All right. Yeah, it's kind of quiet in December. All right. Then we'll move to public comment. Any of our Pam or Rob, do you have any?
Yes, I do, actually. And it's something that I actually would like to see this task force have a discussion topic at some point. I don't know if you all have noticed a couple of electrical fires that have been in the paper recently. I think it was 2 days ago, there was an electrical fire where the man lost both of his, I think they're both electrical cars, and Chief Hood, sorry, I was printing these out because I don't do multiple screens on my computer very well. But the man, there was quite a bit of damage. And then there was another, a business near Saginaw, Chesning, that the business did off-road vehicles and parts for Jeeps and, off-road stuff. And an e-bike lithium battery sparked a massive blaze, wiped out his whole business.
Wow.
And at the end of the article, I thought it was really interesting. They actually talked about the statistics of lithium battery fires in New York City. And I happened to have a conversation about this fire and our Scio Township fire with the two vehicles. And our fire inspector, Skip Davis, said that he actually has a friend on the force in New York City, and he keeps him apprised of the significant increase in battery fires. So I actually was talking to John about it this evening, wondering if we should actually put a smoke detector in our garage. We have, a charger.
Mhm.
And at what point is that going to be recommended? It's not like we all have, gas guzzlers and, cars that go poof, 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 and would set off a smoke detector. And would that save lives? I mean, the fire that happened in late November was a Roomba type battery operated thing that killed a dog in the laundry room. And if they had had interconnecting smoke alarms in the house, and I don't know that for sure, but it would seem to me that it would have set off an alarm in the other part of the house. So it's something, as we go to more battery powered things, more electric cars, I believe this is an issue that will need to be discussed for safety. And that's my public comment. Thank you. Because I don't have the answer.
Yeah. I've heard that discussed too. And there's got to be someone who's starting to, develop some best practices around how to store. Because I know I have my e-bike lithium battery, in our garage.
Well, and remember, Chief Hood's garage caught on fire, a year after he joined us. I think it was about that time, because an electrical outlet overheated. So, yeah, it happens to the best of us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Yeah, investigate.
I can say that it's got to be more than a year ago now when we first started investigating, when Chris and I first started like trying to contact people about chargers and all of that stuff, electric vehicles. I remember that one of the car dealerships, Nissan, was telling us that they had actually put together, they have to train their employees on how to safely deal with the electric vehicles. That's one of the new things. And of course, their mechanics and how to work on them. Mm-hmm. But he said, we also have a video that can be shared with fire departments if your fire department's interested. And at the time, we asked Chief Hood, and he said, oh, no, we've already gotten the full training on that. So I think that he's, at least as far as fighting those fires, he's well-versed in that already. I know that SEMCOG also offers a class for fire departments that want to learn more about how to fight those kinds of fires. But I think Chief Hood's well aware of all those things. So at least.
I think Pam's point is there anything that we can do to make it safer?
Right, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just saying, Chief Hood would have to be definitely in on anything like that. And maybe
that might be a good resilience kind of
exactly
piece to take a look at. And, as we, okay. Good points. All right. Rob, do you have anything tonight at this point? Okay, great. All right. So some township updates. The Planning Commission has sort of prioritized some zoning ordinance updates. And the two top ones are the Jackson Road Overlay District and Jackson Road Planning. And we have designated folks from the Planning Commission and the DDA. We're waiting for the trustees. I'm hoping at the next meeting there'll be a scope of work. I think there are 3 to 5 meetings outlined for this group, and a proposal from Carlisle Wortman to facilitate that, and as well as the additional work for the zoning ordinance updates, and that's going to go before the trustees for approval. It is in this year's budget, so I'm hoping that it'll be a go ahead and move forward. So the Jackson Road overlay and the PUD, and that's kind of together because the idea is to reduce the density outside the sewer water district that's allowable by our PUD ordinance right now, but increase the density in the sewer and water district, kind of in a nutshell. But we have to wait to see kind of what's going to happen with the Jackson Road overlay district, because there are also, we think it's going to end up being sort of a PUD ordinance for outside the sewer district and a PUD ordinance for inside the sewer district, kind of two sections of it, because the character of what gets built, it should be very different. The one, and I think this will probably be at our January 22nd meeting. Right now we're pretty silent on any kind of solar. They have been approving solar on roofs and as accessory structures, but this will be actually taking a look at, as a principal use and, discussions about how to maybe promote more solar, within the Scio. And we're going to be using, if you go to the Catalyst Communities website, there's under energy and renewable energy, and which includes renewable energy. There's a guide for municipalities that MSU, U of M, and some other folks kind of put together. That's a really good guide for looking at that. The next one is our parking ordinance, which would include EVs, bike parking, minimum, maximum, kind of evaluate our current parking standards. And then those are the key ones that we're going to work on early in the year. And then looking at community wastewater systems, aligning it with, state and the county, and still maintaining some of the additional requirements we have, possibly. Then landscaping, best management practices for stormwater. Our stormwater guidelines, we allow people right now to increase density for really what's required in stormwater, because the county's stormwater requirements have caught up with sort of our zoning ordinance. So taking a look at that. Just reviewing uses in each district. There's been a lot of discussion about, self-storage, which really doesn't, it's not real good for placemaking. Some discussions that we've had about drive-throughs, where they belong, where they don't. Hotels, and there's been some requests around artisan food and beverage manufacturing. The other discussion would be accessory dwelling units and affordable housing, sort of like accessory dwelling units. A lot of municipalities and even townships have allowed, under certain circumstances in certain zoning districts, the ability to have an accessory dwelling unit either attached or on your property. So there'll be some good discussions around that. Chickens, there are a lot of, it's one of these ordinances that there are a lot of people that are not in compliance because we don't allow them in certain zoning classifications. And so it's more or less cleaning up. And then taking a look at our sign ordinance, primarily the monument signs, which can be like 15 feet high. It's kind of weird. So that's kind of what the Planning Commission is. A lot of those are in the SCAP plan. And so starting to, look at, some implementation of the updates that we can do.
So Jan,
yeah, go ahead.
So the chicken ordinance is actually going to come up this year, you think?
It'll probably be late in the year. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Because, well, I know some people with chickens.
Oh, yeah.
and I kind of want to fight for them. But at the same time, I realized I don't want it to, it's one of those things where it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And if they have 20 chickens and nobody's complaining, and not that I'm saying that anybody does have, I'm throwing a number out there. But I don't want to hurt these people, these Scio residents, by saying, oh, you got to cull your, but, so I would like to see some kind of reasonable
Mhm.
chicken ordinance, because I think that Ann Arbor has it. Not
Yep.
not that I want to be Ann Arbor, but I think we
Yeah,
should have
and
chickens.
yeah, and there are enough people who are keeping chickens that, it's, yeah, um, something to deal with, I guess. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Um, the other thing is we do have a meeting scheduled January 11th with a group of people in Scio operations to take a look at how we might begin implementing some portions of the SCAP plan, and that would probably be incorporated in the budget and sort of that whole budgeting process approval by the township board. It sounds like it's more, rather than like officially adopting the whole plan, it's sort of like, okay, what can we do next year, and that kind of thing as a process. I'm not quite sure yet, but I'll probably learn a little bit more at that meeting. I'll put this in. Oh, and Pam, if people are interested, I don't know if people would be interested in this or not, I can send it to you. Michigan Green Communities, I sent out an email to the ESTF folks about a webinar recording. And basically, the way the state is implementing My Healthy Climate Plan, which is essentially their environmental sustainability climate action plan,
Right.
is through the My Green Communities, and as sort of the network that helps, and they've just published a toolkit basically to help municipalities meet the what they call their My Green Communities Challenge. And I'm going to encourage everyone, all the ESTF members, to watch that, because I think we've already done quite a few things. It may make sense to register for the challenge. Once you register for the challenge and reach certain levels, you get access to a network of people that also, and then the state provides some technical support, and you're eligible, I think, at the gold level for a fellow from the University of Michigan to work with you on, some of your sustainability projects. So there are some, pretty concrete benefits to moving forward with that. And I just need to dig into it. And I'm trying to do that before the January 11th to just see, how much we've done, what sort of things the township is interested in pursuing, and whether it makes sense to go ahead and dive in and register for that challenge and start networking with some of the other communities that have it. And if you just do Google My Green, in fact, I could bring up their website.
I think my husband John goes to, I think, most of those meetings. I think he's a
really?
member. So
Okay.
you belong to My Green, John?
Green buildings.
Oh, no, he belongs to the Green Building Institute.
Council, the USGBC. Mhm.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, this is actually funded through Eagle, and the Graham Sustainability Institute helps facilitate and provide some of the technical assistance. So yeah, let me just.
You can send it to me.
Okay.
I don't guarantee I'll put it in. I don't guarantee I'll have time
it's
to look
kind
at
of,
it,
yeah, people
but do send it to me.
Okay, because it is a little, you look at our climate action plan, and it's even more wordy. So yeah.
So one of the things that I'm planning on doing with the newsletter this year is kind of talking to various committees and places in our township on stuff. And that might be something that I could highlight the ESTF group with specifically
Uh-huh.
in a later spring issue.
Oh.
This week, when I haven't written the newsletter yet, it'll be Chief Hood, so the fire department. So yeah, so let's keep that and pencil that in.
Okay, that sounds great. Yeah, that'd be great. So this is sort of the landing page for Michigan Green Communities. And then this is, if you go to the challenge, it should come up. It just goes through, there's, you know, it has, you know, it basically has all of these items that are in our plan, and then they have, you know, certain metrics that you are supposed to track. You don't have to track all of them, but you know, they're things that we've all talked about, you know, within our SCAT plan. So, you know, and right here, information on tree canopies. How about that? So it just helps reinforce, you know, the things that we're doing. So anyway,
That looks really cool.
Yeah. And people might just want to go, you know, maybe it isn't, we don't send them to the training on the toolkit, but just send them, this is, you know, Scio has joined this, and, you know, we're a part of a network now of communities working together. So that's that. And the other one that is associated with my green communities that is really more of a resource hub is called Catalyst Communities. And the municipalities that have gotten to the gold level, they have identified resources that the university has made a little bit more robust, or at least screened. And those are on the Catalyst Communities website. And let me, I can shift that. And that's this one. And it has, so it's really this resource hub. And so if you click on any of these things, you know, you can get, you know, resources for benchmarking and tracking, which we're already doing with our, you know, energy benchmarking, resources on energy efficiency and renewable energy, which also includes, you know, it's a series of webinars, it's just written resources, and then what some of the other communities in Michigan are doing. And these are the communities, typically the ones in Michigan that have, you know, participated in the My Green Communities. Renewable energy deployment, this is the planning and zoning guide that we're going to be using. And then, you know, so it has just a, you know, a whole bunch of the Catalyst Communities have had webinars, and they continue to have webinars, and they're all recorded and they're all listed here. So that's kind of, you know, they even have stuff on fleets. So these are also resources that, you know, each of our groups can also use too. So if we're looking at, for instance, if you want to add some things to the Scio website for our resource hubs, you know, you might want to look here and see if there's some applicable things that we can just direct people here to. So I know I'm going to be leaning on this heavily from the, you know, Planning Commission end as we update some of the zoning ordinances, et cetera. So anyway, what's really neat is the state is really starting to produce some very helpful tools for municipalities implementing or even writing climate action plans. And Kathy has been our delegate to SEMCOG, and I've been trying to keep track of what's happening at the state level because Washtenaw County is a part of SEMCOG, and SEMCOG is applying for implementing funds, for all of their communities and projects. And then the state is also applying for funds. And we just heard we're going to be talking in the facilities committee about applying for an energy management grant to help replace the HVAC units on Township Hall and some other things. And I just heard that they may be increasing it from $25,000 to $100,000. So that's supposed to happen this month. So the state is already accessing more of these federal funds. And one of the My Green Community resource hubs is funding. And so it has a whole list of where you can get different kinds of funds at the state level. So interesting. Anyway, so I feel like we've got some feelers into the right places to be able to support with resources and also website resources and so forth, but also hopefully some funding resources too. So anyway, I think the next 2 years are going to be really telling on how much of the federal funds really get brought into the state and accessed by small communities like us. Okay. Just so folks know, Chris Chang is going to be joining the Scio Township later this month. I think it's the last half of January. He's going to be a project manager. And so I think some of the thought would be, if there are some sustainability project type things, tree fund projects and so forth, he would kind of be the point person for that. So that's I think, exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bob, did you have something?
I said yay.
Yay. Yeah. Although we'll miss him on Planning Commission. Then we've kind of formed an ad hoc facilities committee with the new utilities person, Brandon, and Kevin, who is actually doing more hands-on work in the facilities, and in the process of interviewing potential planning commission members, I ran across a guy who wanted to just be involved in Scio, who is a facilities manager for one of the life science buildings at the U of M. And he said he was perfectly willing to help in any way, with facilities. So we've kind of, met a couple times and are helping to put the budget together. And Kevin is already ordering the lights that Steve never changed out. There's some bulbs, with the, we replaced all the fixtures we needed to for LED use, but nobody got to the actual bulbs change out. So he's doing that. And they're just, I have to say, Brandon and Kevin are a breath of fresh air. They're really, I think, great additions to the township staff. So I think if everyone got their Scio newsletter, I don't know, I got mine today, but they're introduced in that newsletter. So that's cool. All right. With that, then the tree policy, Jackie Courteau, Anna Cohn, and I've been working on the tree policy. We're meeting again tomorrow morning, and it looks like, obviously the tree policy has to be adopted by the Board of Trustees, but what we're, and this is the tree fund that developers, if they can't plant all the replacement trees that they need to on their property, they contribute to this tree fund. And we have, I don't know, how much is in there right now, because we've probably had a couple more or another development add-on, but it's over $200,000. And so what was neat is the discussions with sort of land preservation and parks and so forth. And it looks like the priorities that we're going to recommend are one. Oh, Bob, you have a question?
Well, I did, but I was hoping you'd finish what you were saying
okay.
first, and then I'll have a comment.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So the priority would be, how do you maximize the impact of a tree that you plant, right? And so part of this was evidently there's been some research done on some of the preserved properties, and there are some key ones that were recommended to be reforested because they would help. You want to have a continuous tree canopy for a lot of different reasons and diversity and so forth. And so the first priority would be based on research, look at reforestation projects within, Scio's, Scio-owned properties. Next one would be looking at primarily residential areas that have less than sort of what we will determine, or what actually Norm will help us determine as the averaged canopy coverage in Scio. So that, because there are all sorts of, just the benefits of having up trees, not just from a CO2 capture, but diversity, shade, all those things. So residential. And then the third priority would be, right of ways and other public as opposed to private property. So that was, those are kind of the three priorities that are under discussion now. And we're hope to finish it up this month and get some early feedback from the Board of Trustees. And then what would happen is every year there'd be a tree planting committee, the tree fund committee, that would propose a plan for the following year based on the funds available. And there'd be a certain amount of funds dedicated to maintenance of our current public, trees and that type of thing, because especially with the, we may get hit with oak wilt or, something else. The ability to fence the young trees, etc. So that's kind of what we're looking at. And also at the same time, we're updating, we're using some forestry consulting to help update the types of trees. There are trees that would be used for reforestation, a group of trees, and then there would be a group of trees that might be used in more quasi-suburban settings, the right-of-ways and so forth, because you wouldn't not necessarily have, a similar tree selection in those two different places. So that's kind of how that's getting approached. Bob.
Okay. Is this, you called it the tree policy up front, but it sounds like you're talking tree planting policy.
It's the tree fund policy. What are the priorities? How does Scio decide how to allocate the funds out of the tree fund?
Okay, so it would be a separate issue to talk about. I would love, and I think other people would love, to see a reuse of lumber rather than chopping up all the trees into mountains of sawdust that, like we saw along Jackson Road recently.
Yes. And in fact, I don't know if people have been going to the Urban Wood Saturday, wood sales, but right. I'm at a desk right now that was made from a piece of wood from that wood sale. Yeah. So
would that be part of a separate ordinance?
Yes,
if we could...
that would be zoning, and that would also be policy as far as, and it's usually OHM, like when we're doing the pathways or any kind of work that we would be doing, that the Scio would be doing. So there would be the zoning ordinance type of thing, and then, which would be probably included in the landscape,
Right.
the tree removal and so forth, and then also in the Scio policy. Part of it is the Parks and Rec in the city of Ann Arbor was piloting that with the Urban Wood Network. And I think they have developed some guidelines. So it would be good to get theirs and see how they're doing. Part of the issue, and I know Ann Arbor they were looking for how to use all this red oak that's going to come out of Bird Hills this winter. Because they're taking down, I don't know how many trees, but it's a beaucoup of red oaks and white oaks that are coming down. And, and they're mature enough that there is higher and best use of the lumber than chipping.
Is this a wilt issue?
Yep. The wilt issue. Yeah. Yo.
That is tragic. That is tragic.
Yeah.
You said it.
And it's because a tree can get infected if there is damage to it. We had all those storms and everything. And so if a tree is damaged in the, from March to November or December, really March to December, it can be susceptible to, I guess, the spores. But then what happens is one tree gets infected, then it goes into the roots and it can infect other trees that aren't damaged via the root system. So they're actually trenching around all these trees in Bird Hills. It's just,
wow.
If you go on the city forestry, the Ann Arbor City Forestry website, they're talking about that and what they're doing and so forth.
We need somebody in Scio who can be helping identify wilt, because right now it's up to the homeowner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's expensive, and the homeowner's just going to say, oh, I guess not.
Yeah. And if you have any other trees close by, it'll affect them all. Yeah. That's how we can do that. And evidently you can tell that the tree isn't healthy pretty easily, but I don't know all the signs. Okay. Just something happier, please. Okay, we'll put the millage too, because I think you're right. The public transit millage is an important piece, and try and give some updates on that. All right. So kind of looking at our work plan, I did email out for the minutes. Oh, is Jeff still on? Yeah, Jeff is still on. And I do want to say that I did invite Joyce to our meetings, and she said, yeah, when she can join, she'd be glad to come. So that'll be good. So that she gets an idea of kind of who's here and what we're doing and that kind of thing. Okay, so Jeff, did you want to talk a little? Maybe let's go to Jeff, just because while you're here, since you're in the car, do you want to talk a little bit about sort of your progress?
Well, I can touch on what I sent you in email, Jan.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So for the rest of you, we've been working on a couple of different initiatives in the materials and waste group. And one is looking at a possible electronics collection event. And really, the folks at Schupan are just waiting to hear from us and saying what dates are good for us and what kinds of materials would we be collecting. Mm-hmm. So we've just got to make some progress on that. And I have a contact on the Dexter Township Board who said she could get me the numbers from the Dexter Township cleanup so we could find out exactly what they collected. Mm-hmm. It'd be real helpful as a benchmark for us.
Yeah, and we would know a little bit more than how much it would cost too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
the cost is based on how much we anticipate collecting. And then we have to know how, what are the hours? Like, do we open it like all morning or all day or whatever? It could be a very popular thing, or it could be almost nothing to start with. So I think we've just got to put together some specifics for that program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we have almost our full budget of, I think it was $40,000 that hasn't been expended yet. So we could even do something, in early spring, if we can get it together.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought the other things that you were doing too, with some looking at.
So speaking of budget,
Yeah.
one of the things we had wanted to set aside budget for was some additional recycling, putting that recycling dumpster from GFL out the back of Township Hall. And at the sustainability fair, Charlie and I spoke briefly with Will and said, hey, this is a possible good location for this recycling dumpster. It wouldn't interfere with the flow of traffic, and it's out of the way so people can't see it from the road, kind of thing. So the next steps were to work with Joyce and just say, hey, this is what we're planning to do, and when can we get it in place? Well, the GFL controversy just will not go away. There are continuing to be complaints about their service. And I continue to hear rumors in the background that they're not always taking the recycling separately from the landfill. And they might be mixing them, which would be, if true, cheating the township because we're paying extra for segregating. So there was a meeting that was recorded. It's on YouTube. And I listened to some of it, and it sounds like the GFL people there want to fix the problem, but they could not explain why this person who's supposedly responsible for fixing the problems didn't hear about any of this. Because the folks that were on in the meeting complaining said, we tried, we went through all the proper channels, and we heard nothing, and nothing's happening. So I don't know what's going to come out of this, but it does not give me a good, warm, fuzzy feeling to spend more money with GFL at this point. I'd really like to see these issues resolved and a happy township with our garbage and recycling collection before I say, hey, let's spend more money on them, even if it means a little bit more access to recycling. I still want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure now's the right time.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So maybe the electronic recycling is a good next step what
Chupan has a really good reputation.
Mm-hmm.
I've known them for years, and they do a really good job. And I've toured some of their facilities. They are amazing. So the only obstacle to that is, they'll have to come in from Kalamazoo, which means a little more in terms of travel costs and such. But that's all stuff we can work around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So maybe
the final thing was, go ahead. Sorry?
No, go ahead.
I had one more thing, and that was community composting. Still something we want to pursue. And I found out that My Green Michigan can serve compostables pickup for events like they did for Chelsea back in the fall. So I called up My Green Michigan because I had also heard they're going to be putting out some compost collection bins at the Be Green store in Ann Arbor, and then also by the Washtenaw County building for use when Washtenaw County services events. Now, I'm a little unclear as to what Washtenaw County is doing for zero waste events right now, because the last I'd heard, the Zero Waste Washtenaw program had pretty much shut down, and the only thing they were doing was making the stations available for folks who wanted to put on a zero waste event. So I don't know. I got to get the story straight. I know Angela Porta. I can call her and say what exactly is going on. Is the county going to be supporting zero waste events again? Which would be great if they were. But at any rate, My Green Michigan is putting out these collection compost bins. So I called My Green Michigan and spoke with somebody there, and she said, yeah, we'd love to talk to your township about providing compost collection services. So we would have to check and make sure that it's in line with our current ordinance that we could do this, or have the board pass a variance. But it's something I would be very much interested in moving forward on.
Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing is, it might be good to talk a little bit with Mike Vestgard, because Project Grow has, a bunch of gardens on his property now.
And I have been trying to get a hold of Joet Ruma,
Uh-huh.
who was my contact with Project Grow, and he hasn't responded to me. I don't think it's because he doesn't like me.
No.
We seem to get along fine. I think he's just a really busy guy.
Yeah,
So
I think Mike, because he
got to find him. Or who did you say the property
Mike
owner was?
Vestergaard.
Yeah, right. So maybe we can go directly to him and say, "Hey, put us in contact with the folks who've got the Project Grow Gardens on your property, and let's see what we can do."
Yep, I think that would be because Mike, he came to the fair for a few. He was only there for maybe 15 minutes, but yeah, he's there. He's starting to look for grant funding, and he wants a whole kind of education center, demonstration kitchen and stuff at on that property. So
Yeah,
composting would
great.
be a key component of some of that.
So what are the next steps there, then, you think, Jen?
I think it would be reaching out to Mike. And you could actually maybe contact Tim Redmond and see if both of you might be able to meet with, because Tim knows Mike pretty well. And
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, I can reach out to Tim then. I don't have contact information for Mike, but I'll go through Tim then.
Yeah. I think if both of you, go, you could even go over there and see what he's doing, and see, because I think there's some other things that we could, maybe Scio can even help him out some ways if there are some things that would be mutually beneficial.
Can't hurt to find out. Can't hurt to ask, right?
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
Dana. I think Dana dropped off. So, yeah, Dana's going to be traveling for the next couple months. So.
Okay, that's all from my end.
Okay, great. And I will bring up, thanks for writing that piece, because I can bring it to the January 11th meeting too, and talk about, because what I wanted to do was kind of touch on all of the focus areas that we've got and talk about potential things, and then what makes sense to then we can have the conversation about implementation of certain things. Okay. Then and this is sort of, I think it's going to take us a couple meetings, and it'll be helpful to get some feedback, from that January 11th meeting with Joyce and some of the other township folks, and about what we want to do. Chris Ferrone, he was traveling tonight, but we just got an email from the EV, what is it? Southeast Michigan EV Owners of America, or something like that. It's a nationwide group of EV owners, and that promote people sharing their experiences with EVs. And they're the ones that did they did an EV kind of expo at Meyer. There's an EV week, and it ends October 6th. And they thought having the sustainability fair along with that, EV thing would be great if Meyer, would allow us to do that. And their date that they're proposed was October 6th, which is a Sunday. They were gonna, we just exchanged a few emails, and I think that if people here, it's earlier in October, so the weather will be better. I know we can get at least a 30 by 40 tent. So, with some sides and so forth. We'd have to reserve, the larger tent as, pretty early. He said they basically talk with Myers, and the Myers board needs to okay, doing anything there. So the thought was, if people think that I think the reason to do that is it's putting the sustainability fair out where people are. We can still advertise it and so forth, but more people could just stumble upon it. You know what I mean? So I just sort of wanted to get people's thoughts on that, and whether, we'd probably learn within a couple months whether or not they'd be amenable to us doing something with the EV folks. Thoughts? And then we could always, our fallback plan could be, doing it, it could even be the same day. I think we were talking about doing it sometimes earlier so the weather would be better. We could always, do our township hall thing and do it before voting. So, it's the only thing going on at City Hall, and it would have a little bit more visibility, even doing some things in front. So I think that could be a possibility. The other one would be to do something at WISD. They have a lot of indoor space. So, we could even do more of a winter type of thing too, if we wanted to. So I think those were some of the suggestions that came up. Did anyone else have any thoughts on that? I think the other suggestion was to actually ask the school if we could do it, so if we did it again in October, if maybe we could use the school next to the fire station. So people, it'd be almost at the same site, and it would relieve some of the parking issues too. But I'm sure the school would want compensation for that. So that would be those are kind of the suggestions.
Jan, I will say that so many people had to park at Township Hall for the fire station that if you had more signage for the sustainability fair in the back, and I think people were parking over in the church, but even the planning commission, the Washtenaw County building was packed as well. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it was just, doing it during election, and this election season is even going to be worse, right? It's going to be busier, and, there are going to be more signs. It's going to be a November election with lots of things. We had, our one millage issue, and there were, 50 signs out front. So I'm just thinking, it'd be great to do it, close to the fire station, but I think Township Hall around election time is just too busy. Yeah, Kathy?
I think Meyer is the most visible, and we're going to catch the most people that way. And so I would support that one as first choice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, let's pursue the Meyer. And if, we can't get any kind of, that's a great idea, support for it, then we'll move on to another option. Okay. We are still, Chief Hood still wants to do, he still has the budget to do the native planting at the solar array. So we're trying to push that to actually get that scheduled for spring. It would probably be a May kind of activity. And that could be, we could also, partner with either the Water Resources Group or the Washtenaw Conservation District. They could have, bring over the rain barrels or something like that. So we could kind of do a whole, and May is such a gardening month anyway. I think that could be a funny little, a mini little native plant kind of fair. We might be able to get Feral Floral to, do a little mini plant sale or something like that too. But key is to get the contractor scheduled, and then have I'm thinking again, probably a Sunday, because there's so many sports on Saturday that maybe a Sunday afternoon might work. The issue with a planting event like that in May, you might get some rain. But some of those other activities could actually be done inside the bay of the fire station too. So that I think that would be a really fun kind of thing. We should probably spend one of our meetings also really looking at the website and having each of the groups see where we need, are there any resources that need to be taken off, are there new resources that we want to put on. We should probably do that twice a year just to keep things fresh, and as we come across new resources, I'll put them in. Marty she'd really like to have some sort of teach-in where it could be a hybrid event that would be focused on water quality, impervious surfaces, native landscaping, best practices for sort of maintaining septic systems, everything that has to do with kind of water quality, etc. It could be tied in a little bit with the updates on Gelman plume, that kind of thing. And I'm going to wait for her to kind of get back and get healthy again. But she's really, she's kind of excited about trying to organize something like that. And then Pam, I think, your idea of the newsletter, highlighting a few things, that certainly would be great. As, sort of under the other ideas for engagement. And then the other one would be to promote, and everybody's coming out with their calendars now, Huron River Watershed Council events and trainings, rain, master composter, master rain garden classes and so forth, and see if we can get, work with Mary Gillis on the banner and so forth. And Pam, maybe, the newsletter can also include some of those things, that might be coming up that people, can, actually get some skills. I don't know if you'd be open to that or not. Other ideas? And then we'll let Norm do his show. Okay, well, think about that too. I mean, if we do the sustainability fair and the native plants thing, and maybe do a teach-in or a series of specific things, that's a lot for this group to handle. So I think that's good. All righty. All right, so Norm, do you want to share and tell us a little bit about what we're looking at?
Okay. Is my voice breaking up? I guess I'm not sure.
It's better than it was with the video off. I think that helps.
Sure if you can hear me well.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Okay, well, I'll do the best.
Okay, so go ahead and share.
Oops. Did that, it's loading now, I guess.
Yep.
Here we go. Okay, there we go. Okay, good. Tree mapping we're doing, and it's something that I've been involved in, not Scio Township, but forestry and treatment for about 50. Nice to be able to bring it home and apply it to our own local environment. And as you know, I'm updating the township's land cover map, and to do a good job on that, I'm going to need some help from all of the committee members. There are lots of other categories in this map besides trees and counting different cover types to make sure we get the best product possible and one that's useful. The thing that's most critical and the thing that I need your help with is in defining of what that it's are we talking about mapping individual trees? Are we talking about mapping something that is a specific body of trees, the same? Those are the kinds of things that the user will want to know. And what we have to do, or what I feel it's important to do, is to this product, the better. So is that have you heard me make that story before? I probably have. It's an important one. And so usually we're aggregating into
Hey, Norm, it might be better.
individual trees when we're on somebody else's. Yes.
It is breaking up quite a bit, and I'm wondering if
Yeah, I'm afraid that's the problem.
yeah.
Well, let me try to speak slowly and just do a couple of these things here. Let me show you what we got here. This is a map of the township, and the image is enhanced to separate out targets or categories of interest. And the forest in this case is a light blue. The areas that have these multi colors in them areas, and the pink areas are residential areas. And inside the residential areas and rooftops. And along Jackson, you'll see a large or parking lots or other impervious surfaces. So we have a basic map here that we now will extract the statistics from to tell information about the relative abundance and location of these different cover types. Did that come through okay?
Yeah, I think it was understandable. Yeah. So so the blues are the
All right, well,
contiguous tree canopies is what you're saying. And what is the light green?
Yeah, these light blue right here.
Yeah, the background is sort of light green because I'm thinking, there's a continuous
When
tree
you say light
canopy
green,
up along the river too.
Calibrated. This is Wing Farm.
Okay.
Say again?
So there's a continuous tree canopy along the river too.
Yeah, this is all tree canopy. And these bright colors, non-light green colors are agricultural fields.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm going to go. This is a blow up of a small area and a different presentation of the data, but it just also shows that you can isolate the different categories that we're interested in. So, for example, here's the Wing Farm again areas, and you'll notice the little dark blobs in there. Those are rooftops. This is Jackson down here. You can see the new developments.
Mm-hmm.
The park lots categories, and then we can take make individual maps of the individual categories.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here.
Yeah, so then
Now,
you
when
can actually calculate land use that's used for that's impervious.
Process is stated, we can break it into smaller.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So there's two approaches you can take. Approach. The other is a blob, what we call the blob approach, like a green areas that are, this is a
Mm-hmm.
forest area, very dense forest, complete residential areas, trees along roads in there. So you can see
Mm-hmm.
that even in an area that looks, and so we have to go back to that question again. Do you want to know all about these trees, or is it to them in different ways?
Yeah, I think
It's-
Norm, for the tree fund policy and figuring out average tree canopy cover in
Go ahead.
different residential areas, this map seems
Uh-huh.
to be the green, the one that has the trees in it seems to be best for that type of
Well,
use.
uh, those other maps, who counts, or not in counts, but tree canopy cover. You see a little green dot out here. It's associated with a tree in this area.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
Whereas
Okay.
in this area, this is a stand of trees, multiple trees. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the pixel approach.
Mm-hmm.
You can see it's very spotty. You know, openings in the canopy have their own little pixels. So it's kind of a busy looking presentation, show a relative representation of where the tree cover is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Yep.
now this one, oops, we've seen that one before, so I'll just skip that. Oh, well, I will show you one thing here. The residential areas, here you can see the trees in the older part of Dexter, newer suburb.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The relative density of trees is quite apparent.
Yep. And so in Scio, that's what we're looking for, is to try and identify residential areas that have
Okay,
less
move
than,
along.
you
And
know,
when I
the average tree cover or whatever. Mm-hmm.
So if we look at a residential lots, you know, so, and this is those little black lines that we saw before, the ways that we see here. So you can see that this satellite is very useful for mapping things at the scales we're talking about. We can count these houses, we can measure the distance of the roads, and we can map the strips of where the trees are.
Mm-hmm.
And these areas are stands of trees, whereas the crown canopy is very uniform. Here are individual trees out on this field here. So you can see we can go big trees to dense trees to scattered trees to trees in an urban setting. All those can be counted but we have to know, do you want all those, and do you want them broken down into different categories?
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thank you.
And let's see, and and if we go by the blob technique, where we don't do individual pixels, but we do individual blocks of things that the computer recognizes of in this case, it's agriculture,
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
where the brown is, but the green area would be things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's the aggregate approach with the blobs and the individual pixels that can be picked out. And this product is probably more photogenic than the blob or the pixel product way. So that's a quick tour of what we've been doing. We need information from you to which one of these approaches makes sense, or does some combination of them make sense, and how do we blend those with things like impervious surfaces? Because it's quite possible that trees cover in this area overlaps impervious surfaces we're also including. So you may end up with tree cover that is larger than it would be a traditional category. Do you get what I mean?
Why don't you go ahead and
So
stop
it's possible
sharing
to end
and
up with
then
more
we
than
can,
100% of,
yeah,
or-
talk a little bit.
pardon?
Yeah, go ahead and stop sharing. So yeah, then it's easier to talk.
Yeah, well, that's it for me. I'm just,
Okay, great. Yeah, we should figure out where we need to meet to look at this and talk about it so that we're, viewing it and not having to do it over Zoom, which seems to break things up. But yeah. Oh, to have all those options,
yeah, I think this is
pretty
kind of,
amazing.
yeah. It's time to go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Norm, we'll offline, let's figure out where we need to meet to
Okay,
be able
thank
to
you.
view it and talk and that kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Great. I mean, to have that kind of resource will be pretty amazing. And thank goodness we have you to explain a little bit of it too. So, okay. I think any other public comment?
Pam again. I was thinking Norm's map would be really great from mygreencommunities.com because wasn't there something about trees or something on there?
Yep.
And it's like, well, just attach the map to it. So thank you, Norm. Good work.
Yeah. I mean, and the land use stuff and
Thank
the
you.
Dana surveyed, what was growing and the different farmlands and so forth. So, making land use decisions with data
Yeah, looks like we
is
identified
nice.
farm solutions. Yeah.
Yeah, great. Okay. Then I think we just have to approve. There was a link for the draft minutes. Did anyone have any changes or additions for Kathy? Okay, all those in favor of approving the November minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? All right, then we'll go ahead and confirm those. I did put the link, the recording link in the draft, Kathy. And then I've scheduled our meetings through June. Mary Gillis hasn't set the deadlines yet for the newsletter, but we'll put those in our agenda and our minutes once we get them. And with that, I'll try and send everybody an update of what's going on after the January 11th meeting, and then maybe an update after what's happening with the millage too. So since there are two significant kind of meetings happening in January, so we can kind of get our thoughts together prior to meeting in February. Does that sound good? And then hopefully we'll have more of the group here too, which will be good because then we'll have more information to share. All righty. So with that, thanks for the little extended meeting, and Happy New Year again, everyone. And I hope we didn't have time to really share about holidays and stuff, but maybe we can do that in February when there are more of us around too. So I just hope everyone had a good one. So, and thank you again, Norm, for, that work is, I was expecting, like one map and we've got all these, all different variations. So that's really cool to see what you can do. That's awesome. Thank you very much. So, all right, with that, everyone have a good night. And for those Michigan fans, let's go blue.
Go blue. Good night.
Good night. Thanks.